At the Thanksgiving table, her smile was pure honey. "Say grace, dear." After dessert, the garage door slammed shut, and the first blow landed. The next morning, I walked into the office as if nothing had happened. My stepmother is also the CFO of the corporation where I work, and my revenge will be a presentation to the entire board. They thought I would be silent. They were wrong. My name is Ava Kingsley. I am 32 years old, and I am the head of risk analytics for Marrow & Finch Holdings. It's a title that sounds more important than it is. Mostly, it involves staring at spreadsheets until the numbers blur into prophecies of muted disaster, then translating those prophecies into language palatable enough for men who believe risk is just a synonym for opportunity. Today, however, I am not in my glass-walled office in Greybridge. I am in Clearford, a town that exists in a perpetual state of autumnal nostalgia. All clapboard houses and ancient maple trees. I am in my father's house, or rather, the log and stone fortress Lorraine designed after they married. Every Thanksgiving, I make this pilgrimage, a quiet act of filial duty that feels more like reporting for a parole hearing. The air inside is thick, almost viscous, with the holy trinity of American holiday scents: roasting turkey, cinnamon-spiked pumpkin, and the faint, cloying sweetness of Lorraine's Chanel No. 5. A pumpkin-colored linen cloth, ironed to a crisp, is draped over the heavy oak dining table. The silverware gleams under the low-hanging wrought-iron chandelier, each fork and knife a polished weapon. My father, looking frail and softened by a recent health scare, is already seated, a ghost at his own feast. His smile is a pale watercolor of what it once was. Lorraine Vale, my stepmother, the chief financial officer of Marrow & Finch, stands by the counter, carving the turkey with surgical precision. At 49, she is all sharp angles and calculated grace, her blonde hair pulled into a chignon so tight it seems to pull the skin at her temples taut. She married my father when I was 17, a whirlwind of efficiency and ambition that swept through our quiet, grief-stricken house and renovated it from the inside out. She'd been his executive assistant, a classic, tragic story. Tragic for my mother's memory, mostly. She places a perfect slice of white meat onto a platter and turns, her eyes, the color of a winter sky, finding mine. "Ava, darling, come, sit." I take my seat opposite my father. Beside me is Sienna, my half-sister. At 21, she is a gentler, more hesitant version of her mother, all wide, worried eyes and hands that perpetually fidget in her lap. Lorraine takes her seat at the head of the table, the undisputed monarch of this small, unhappy kingdom. She surveys us, a faint, proprietary smile on her lips. The performance is about to begin. She places her hands on the table, manicured nails the color of dried blood. "Let's give thanks," she says, her voice smooth as bourbon. Her eyes lock with mine again, and under the warm, buttery glow of the kitchen lights, she slides her hand next to mine on the pretense of joining us all together. Her fingers find my wrist, hidden from view by the tablecloth. "Say grace," she purrs, the words meant for the whole table. But the pressure of her thumb is meant only for me. It finds the delicate bundle of nerves and bone and squeezes, not a playful pinch. It's a deliberate, grinding pressure, a cold reminder of the hierarchy. Pain, sharp and crystalline, shoots up my arm. I keep my expression neutral, my gaze fixed on the floral centerpiece. I will not give her the satisfaction of a flinch. The pressure increases, her rings digging into my skin. I can feel the small bones of my wrist grating against each other. Sienna begins to mumble a prayer, her voice barely a whisper. My father echoes the words, oblivious. I just breathe, my focus narrowing to the single, searing point of contact. Finally, as Sienna says, "Amen," the pressure releases. Lorraine withdraws her hand, leaving a throbbing ache in its place. Dinner is a suffocating pantomime of family. My father asks about my work, and Lorraine answers for me. "Ava is doing wonderfully, a real asset. I'm mentoring her personally. Of course. She says it with the air of a benevolent queen, and I nod, the taste of stuffing turning to ash in my mouth. I watch Sienna push her food around her plate, her gaze darting between her mother and me, her face pale. She knows. She always knows. After the pumpkin pie, as my father dozes in his armchair by the fire, Lorraine gets up. "Ava, a word." She doesn't wait for a reply, just walks toward the door leading to the garage. My stomach clenches. This is the part of the ritual I dread most. The post-dessert debriefing. I follow her, my feet feeling like lead. The door clicks shut behind us, plunging us into the cold, sterile silence of the three-car garage. The only light is a single, bare bulb hanging from the ceiling, casting long, distorted shadows. The air smells of gasoline, cold concrete, and something else, the metallic tang of her anger. She turns, her face no longer a mask of hostess charm, but a cold, hard slab of fury. What was that at the table? What was what? My voice is flat. That attitude, the silent contempt. Do you think I don't see it? You sit there, judging me in my own home. This is my father's home, I say, the words out before I can stop them. It's a mistake, a fatal one. Her eyes narrow. This is the home I built, the life I provided for him after your mother. She lets the sentence hang. The ultimate weapon. You are a guest here, an ungrateful one. You think because you have a fancy title at work, you can look down on me? I put you there. I can take you out just as easily. She takes a step closer. I stand my ground, my back against the cold metal of the tool cabinet. This is what she wants. A reaction. Fear. Tears. Something to feed on. You have a problem with respecting authority. Ava, you always have. The blow comes without warning. A hard, open-palmed slap across my face. My head snaps to the side, my cheek exploding with a white-hot sting. My ears ring, a high-pitched whine that drowns out the hum of the freezer in the corner. For a second, the world tilts, the concrete floor seeming to rush up at me. I taste copper. I bring a hand to my cheek, my fingers trembling slightly. My gaze remains fixed on the wall, on a spiderweb thick with dust. I don't look at her. "Look at me when I'm speaking to you," she hisses. Slowly, I turn my head back. I meet her gaze. My face is numb, but my mind is suddenly, terrifyingly clear. It's like a switch has been flipped. The years of quiet swallowing of insults, of enduring the subtle cruelties and the psychological warfare, it all coalesces into a single, cold point of clarity. Before she can strike again, I slide my right hand into the pocket of my woolen cardigan. My fingers find the smooth, cool case of my phone. With my thumb, I slide the screen on and tap the recording app. The small red icon begins to pulse, a silent witness. From the corner of my eye, I see movement at the door to the house. The door is cracked open, and in the sliver of warm light, I see Sienna. She is a silhouette, frozen, one hand over her mouth, her eyes, wide and glistening with unshed tears, meet mine for a fraction of a second before she looks away, unable to bear witness. She doesn't intervene. She doesn't make a sound. She just watches, a prisoner of her own fear. Then, silently, she closes the door, leaving me alone with her mother once more. That is the deeper wound, the betrayal of her silence. I say nothing. I let Lorraine vent, her voice echoing in the cold space, a litany of my perceived failures, my disrespect, my ingratitude. I am a statue. I am a recording device. Every venomous word, every threat, is being captured, stored. When she is finally done, her chest heaving, she points a trembling finger at me. "Fix your face and get out of my house." I turn without a word and walk to the side door. I don't look back. I step out into the biting November air. A light, feathery snow has begun to fall, dusting the manicured lawn in a blanket of white. The flakes melt on my hot cheek. I pull the collar of my cardigan up, shielding the blooming bruise that I know is already forming. I walk down the long driveway, my boots crunching softly on the gravel. The cold air is a balm, shocking my system back to life. I don't run. I don't cry. I just walk, my posture erect. I reach the end of the driveway and stop under a street lamp, its orange glow illuminating the swirling snow. I take a deep breath, the icy air burning my lungs, then another. I count 1, 2, 3, all the way to 30. My training in risk analytics kicks in. Assess the damage, quantify the threat, formulate a response. Calling the police is an option. It would be messy, emotional. Her word against mine. She would paint me as unstable, vengeful, a troubled daughter lashing out. It's a coin toss, and I don't deal in coin tosses. No, police stations are for crimes of passion. This was not passion. This was business. A hostile takeover of my life that began 15 years ago, and it would end where it thrives, in the cold, calculating world of corporate governance. I would not report this to a precinct. I would report it to the board of directors. My phone vibrates in my pocket, a new text message. The screen glows, and Lorraine's name is at the top. Be early tomorrow. We need to fix the quarterly report. The quote marks around the word fix are a casual admission of felony. My heart gives a single, hard thud. It's not fear, it's the starting gun. I type back a single word, my fingers steady in the cold. Yes. I hit send. The timer has started. My Thanksgiving is over. The hunt has just begun. The lobby of Marrow and Finch Holdings is a cathedral of cold ambition. It's a 3-story atrium of brushed steel, black granite, and glass so clean it seems to vibrate. In the center, suspended from the ceiling by imperceptible wires, is a massive, abstract sculpture of interlocking bronze rings, meant to symbolize something, stability, probably, connection, the kind of expensive, meaningless art that reassures investors. Etched into the granite wall behind the reception desk, in severe, elegant letters, is the company motto, "We steward trust." I swipe my access card, and the sound of the turnstile unlocking is a crisp, metallic click in the morning silence. It's 7:00 a.m. the day after Thanksgiving. The building is a ghost town. My reflection glides alongside me on the polished floor. A woman in a tailored wool coat, a silk scarf knotted carefully at her neck to hide the faint, purplish shadow blooming on her jaw. From a distance, I am the picture of corporate composure. Up close, I am a collection of carefully concealed damages. My office is on the 24th floor. Risk Analytics. It's a corner office, a gift from Lorraine, a gilded cage with a panoramic view of Graybridge. She'd insisted on it when she brought me into the firm 5 years ago, fresh out of business school with a head full of models and theories. "You have a brilliant mind, Ava," she had said during a sterile lunch interview that felt more like an interrogation. "You just need the right guidance, the right mentor." The mentorship was a leash. I learned soon enough. My job was to build the models that predicted market volatility, supply chain disruptions, and currency fluctuations, but my real, unspoken function was to be Lorraine's silent validator. It started subtly. A sticky note left on a file. "Ava, can we adjust the depreciation schedule on these assets? Push it out a few quarters. CRR wants a smoother earnings report. CRR was Colton Wren, our CEO, a man with a grandfatherly demeanor, a firm handshake, and a complete, almost devotional faith in his CFO. He saw Lorraine as a miracle worker, a brilliant strategist who had joined the company 15 years ago and risen through the ranks on a reputation for being a ruthless fat trimmer. She was a trimmer, all right, just not of fat. Lorraine didn't cut costs. She moved them. She was a magician, a master of misdirection. Her greatest trick was an entity called Northlake Procurement. It appeared on our books as a third-party logistics and sourcing partner. It handled everything from fleet vehicle acquisition to sourcing raw materials for our manufacturing subsidiaries. Its invoices were always prompt, its services vaguely defined, its costs consistently just high enough to be significant, but not high enough to trigger the highest levels of scrutiny. Colton Wren loved it. That Northlake outfit Lorraine found has saved us millions in overhead. He'd boom in shareholder meetings. That's the kind of lean, efficient management that stewards trust. Trust? The word echoes in the silent office as I power on my computer. I learned to distrust the numbers Lorraine touched about 3 years in. The adjustments were small at first. A reclassification of debt here. An optimistic revenue projection there. I was her protégé, and my silence was the price of my career. I played my part. I ran the models. I wrote the reports. And when she handed me a spreadsheet with her notes, I integrated them. To object would be to declare war. And I was a junior analyst with no allies and a powerful enemy who also happened to carve my Thanksgiving turkey. The first real crack in the foundation appeared 3 months ago. I was running a vendor audit, a routine, mind-numbing task, cross-referencing invoices against contracts. It was late. The city lights outside my window were a glittering carpet. I was on my 1,000th line of data when I saw it. A contract from a chemical supplier in Ohio. I scrolled down to the signature block. Then I pulled up another contract. This one from a trucking company in Nevada that we'd supposedly onboarded the same week. The signatures of the company presidents were identical. Not similar. Identical. The same flourish on the T. The same peculiar loop on the G. A perfect, digitally copied and pasted signature for 2 different men, in 2 different states, running 2 different companies. My blood went cold. It was sloppy, arrogant, the kind of mistake you make when you believe no one is smart enough or brave enough to ever check. I didn't say a word to anyone. Instead, that night, I went home and created a new file on my personal laptop, a password-protected spreadsheet I saved in a folder filled with cooking recipes. I named the file Pumpkin Pies. It was a small, bitter piece of irony that belonged only to me. In it, I started to build a shadow ledger. Every invoice from Northlake Procurement, every contract with a questionable signature, every internal email from Lorraine asking me to reevaluate a risk assessment or rephase an expenditure, column by column, line by line. I documented the chasm between the company's pristine public filings and the ugly truth I was uncovering. A few weeks later, I sought out Micah Drew. Micah is mid-level in the internal legal department, a perpetually harried man with kind eyes who survives at Marrow and Finch by being meticulously correct and invisible. I caught him at the coffee station, framing my question as a hypothetical. Micah, just a theoretical question for a risk model I'm building. What's the corporate liability if, say, an executive-level officer was found to be operating a shell company for personal enrichment? Micah stopped stirring his coffee. He looked around the empty kitchen, then back at me. He lowered his voice. The liability is total catastrophic failure. Ava, for the officer, and for whoever knew about it and did nothing. This isn't a theoretical model, is it? I didn't answer. He took a sip of his coffee, his eyes grave over the rim of the cup. Be careful, he murmured. Poking the CFO is like kicking a hornet's nest. She has Colton Wren in her pocket. You'll be the one who gets stung. He was right. I needed more than data. I needed proof that was irrefutable. The following day, I went online and ordered a pen. It looked like an expensive fountain pen, sleek and black with a silver clip. It also contained a high-fidelity audio recorder with 8 hours of battery life. When it arrived, I dropped it into the ceramic mug on my desk with my other pens, an instrument of espionage, hiding in plain sight. Now, sitting in the pre-dawn quiet of my office, the city still asleep below, I feel the dull throb in my jaw, the memory of the garage, the cold, the smell of gasoline. Sienna's silent retreat is a physical weight in my chest. I open my secure email, my fingers flying across the keyboard. The plan that had been a vague defensive strategy, a break glass in case of emergency file, is now an active, offensive campaign. The timeline has moved up. My hand is being forced. My phone buzzes on the desk. A private message. From Sienna. My heart lurches. I tap the screen. Ava, don't come home tonight. That's all it says. No explanation. None is needed. The message is clear. Lorraine has said something, done something. Sienna is afraid. She's warning me. The house in Clearford, the place of my childhood, is no longer just uncomfortable. It's unsafe. The last sanctuary has been compromised. I stare at the screen, at my sister's name. A fresh wave of anger, cold and clean, washes over me, sweeping away the last vestiges of fear and hesitation. I look around my office, the glass walls, the steel desk, the view of a concrete and glass world. This is not my home, but it is my territory. The rules here are different. They are about data, evidence, and procedure. And in this arena, I am not a daughter. I am not a victim. I am the head of risk analytics. The house is lost. The war will be fought here. The office is now the battlefield. The morning after Thanksgiving is a black hole of productivity in corporate America. But for me, it's a sprint. My mind is a clean, cold machine, fueled by coffee and a singular burning purpose. Lorraine wants the quarterly report fixed by Monday. That gives me less than 72 hours. The clock is ticking, not just on the report, but on my window to act. I start with the data I already have, the foundation of my pumpkin pies spreadsheet, Northlake procurement. I dive into their shipping and logistics invoices, the digital paper trail of their supposed operations. I focus on a series of charges from the last quarter designated as expedited freight. The costs are astronomical, justified in internal memos by urgent client needs. The invoices list a departure point for these shipments, a warehouse at 17 Halberd Park. I pull up satellite maps. I run property record searches. Halberd Park doesn't exist. There is no such address, no such industrial park in the specified county. The warehouse is a fiction, a ghost. The millions of dollars in ghost freight charges are payments for services never rendered, for goods that never moved, from a place that was never built. It's the digital equivalent of a bottomless pit, and Lorraine has been throwing company money into it with abandon. Each invoice is another domino, and I line them up, one by one. Next, Northlake itself. Who is behind it? Shell companies are designed to be anonymous, but they are rarely perfect. It takes me 4 hours and a subscription to a deep dive business registry database, paid for with my personal credit card. I follow the breadcrumbs from the initial Delaware incorporation, a state notorious for its corporate secrecy, through a series of registered agents. But every entity needs a real person's name on a document somewhere. Finally, I find it, buried in a secondary filing in Nevada. The incorporator of the parent LLC that owns Northlake Procurement is a man named Gregory Finch, not a common name. A quick cross-referenced social media search gives me the final, damning link. Gregory Finch is the former brother-in-law of Lorraine Vale. He is the ex-husband of her younger sister. The connection is no longer just a suspicion. It's a documented, familial conspiracy. An email alert pings. It's from Lorraine. The subject line is simple: Q3 projections. The message is brief, stripped of any pretense of mentorship. Ava, the preliminary EBITDA numbers are soft. They don't align with our guidance to investors. We need to get them north of $85 million. Do what you need to do with the OPEX accruals and the Northlake logistics column. Send me a revised draft by EOD. It's an order, a direct, written instruction to cook the books. My heart hammers against my ribs. A frantic bird in a cage. This is the moment. This is where I set the trap. I spend the next 2 hours crafting a work of fiction. I build a new version of the quarterly report, massaging the numbers just as she instructed. I defer operating expenses. I recategorize capital expenditures, and I plug in inflated, baseless revenue figures from the Northlake column. I get the EBITDA number to her target. But I do one more thing. Deep in the appendices, buried in a dense table of accounts payable, I make a deliberate, specific error. I create a phantom invoice from a legitimate supplier. A small discrepancy of exactly $17,213. It's a number just small enough to seem like a typo, a careless mistake, but it's an odd, prime number, one I will recognize instantly. It's my digital fingerprint. It's the bait. I attach the file to an email. Lorraine, here's the revised draft with the adjustments we discussed. Please review. I hit send. The rest of the day is an exercise in controlled anxiety. I try to work, but my eyes keep flicking to the corner of my screen. Waiting. At 6:47 p.m., my phone buzzes. It's not an email. It's a system notification from the company's shared drive. Your file. Q3 Report Draft AVK has been modified by L. Vale. She took the bait. I open the network log. It tracks every change, every access, every modification to every file, stamping it with a user ID and a timestamp. I navigate to the report. I can see her digital footprints all over it. She opened the file at 6:45 p.m., and at 6:46 p.m., she made a single change. I go to the accounts payable appendix. The phantom invoice for $17,413 is gone. She found it. She was meticulous, cleaning up even my fake mess as she finalized her fraudulent numbers. But she didn't realize that in deleting my error, she had signed her confession. I take a series of high-resolution screenshots of the edit log. Her username, the timestamp, the specific cells that were altered, the digital smoking gun. A soft knock on my open office door makes me jump. It's Micah Drew, holding a paper file, his expression strained. "Working late?" he asks, stepping inside and quietly closing the door behind him. "Just finishing up," I lie. He doesn't buy it. He places the file on my desk, not looking at me, but at the city lights. "I was reviewing some old corporate governance documents," he says, his voice low. "Found this. Thought you might find it academically interesting." I open the file. It's a copy of the Marrow and Finch whistleblower policy, a document I have never seen, that isn't available on the main company intranet. It outlines the precise, ironclad procedures for reporting executive misconduct and the legal protections afforded to the reporter. It's a roadmap. Micah has just handed me the key. "It's usually kept in a subfolder of a subfolder," he says, still not looking at me. "Not for general consumption. Bad for morale. You know." He finally meets my eyes. "Whatever you're doing, Ava, do it by the book. This book." He taps the file. "And for God's sake, don't do it alone." He leaves as quietly as he came. Armed with the policy, I make my boldest move yet. I log into the IT administration portal using a set of credentials I was given for a server migration project last year and never had revoked. An oversight, Lorraine's oversight. I navigate to the master backup directory. I initiate a full download of the primary file server from 4 weeks prior, a snapshot in time from before the end of the quarter, before the most recent data manipulation. It's a massive file, terabytes of data. The system asks for a project name for the download request. I type in a single, thematic word, Harvest 11. I direct the download to a secure, encrypted drive I keep locked in my desk drawer. It will take all night, but by morning, I will have a pristine, unaltered copy of the company's entire financial history. While the data transfers, I keep digging. I pivot from Northlake to the smaller, more mundane vendors. One name catches my eye: Claret Janitorial, the cleaning service for the executive floor. The monthly invoices are suspiciously high, almost double the standard rate. An anomaly. I run the address listed on their invoices. It's not a commercial building. It's a PMTO box at a retail mail center. On a hunch, I run a personal background check on Lorraine. The PEO box address for Claret Janitorial is the exact same one she has listed for her personal mail. She is paying herself to clean her own office. It's brazen, arrogant, and utterly perfect. The fraud is everywhere. I find the thread and pull, and it all begins to unravel. I trace donations made by the company's charitable arm, the Marrow and Finch Gives Thanksgiving Fund. Large contributions were made to a nonprofit I've never heard of. That nonprofit, in turn, paid an enormous consulting fee to none other than Northlake Procurement. It's a classic round-tripping scheme, laundering stolen money through a charity to make it appear clean. Lorraine isn't just stealing from shareholders. She's stealing from the homeless shelters and food banks the company boasts about supporting. It's almost 3 a.m. The download is complete. The evidence is secured. I lean back in my chair, exhausted but wired. There's one last piece of evidence to log. I unlock my phone and go to my photos. I find the picture I took in the bathroom mirror before I left my father's house. A close-up of my wrist, held under the harsh vanity light. The imprint of her rings is a faint, ugly constellation of bruises against the pale skin. The physical and the financial, the violence and the fraud, are two sides of the same coin. They are about power, control, and the belief that you are above accountability. I connect my phone to my computer. I create a new folder on the encrypted drive, nestled among the financial documents. I name the folder Expense Receipts. I save the photo of my bruised wrist inside. A personal cost, waiting to be reconciled. The invitation arrives via the corporate messaging system on Friday morning. A pop-up on my screen that feels like a summons. Lunch, The Anvil, 12:30. Just us girls. It's from Lorraine. The casual, chummy tone is more alarming than any direct order. This isn't a business meeting, it's a psychological operation. The Anvil is where corporate deals are forged and careers are broken. It's a dimly lit cavern of dark wood, oxblood leather banquettes, and hushed, self-important conversations. The air smells of seared steak, old money, and desperation. The waiters glide between tables like shadows, their discretion absolute. It is the perfect place for a conversation that must never be overheard. I arrive precisely at 12:30. Lorraine is already there, seated in a prime corner booth, a glass of pale, expensive-looking wine in her hand. She smiles as I approach, a brilliant, predatory flash of white teeth. It's the same smile she wore at the Thanksgiving table. "Ava, darling, you look composed," she says, her eyes doing a quick, dismissive sweep of my outfit. It's a subtle dig. She expected me to look rattled. We women have to have each other's backs in this world. It's a jungle out there. We have to lift each other up. She gestures for the waiter. She'll have the same. It's not a question. I sit, placing my clutch on the leather seat beside me. Inside it, my phone is already active, the audio recording app engaged. The conversation in the garage is my insurance policy. This will be my signed confession. "I reviewed the draft you sent last night," she begins, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial murmur. "Excellent work. You have a real talent for seeing the bigger picture, for understanding what the numbers need to say." The waiter places a glass of wine in front of me. I don't touch it. Colton is thrilled. The board will be thrilled, and when the board is thrilled, she leans forward slightly, her Chanel No. 5 cutting through the rich aroma of the restaurant. People get rewarded. She lets the word hang in the air. This is the carrot. I've been speaking with Colton about creating a new role, Vice President of Corporate Strategy and Risk. It would report directly to me. Of course, a significant step up, the kind of position that sets a woman on the track for the C-suite. She takes a delicate sip of her wine, her eyes, cold and watchful, never leaving mine. "Sign off on the final version of the report as is, the one I tidied up for you, and the job is yours. We'll announce it after the new year." The offer is both a bribe and a threat. To accept is to become a willing, compensated co-conspirator. To refuse is to declare war. I feel a strange, icy calm settle over me. The fear is gone, replaced by a crystalline clarity. "And if I don't sign?" I ask. My voice is even, devoid of emotion. It's a risk assessment question, nothing more. Her smile tightens. It doesn't reach her eyes. For the first time, a flicker of genuine annoyance crosses her face. This is not going according to her script. "Ava," she says, the single word layered with disappointment and warning. "Don't be naive. We're family, and family always comes before business. We take care of our own." As she speaks, I feel a sudden, deliberate pressure against my ankle under the table. It's the pointed toe of her leather pump, pressing into the delicate bone just above my foot. It's not a kick. It's a reminder, a calculated, physical echo of the garage. It says, "I can hurt you here. And I can hurt you there. I can touch you anytime I want. My entire body tenses, but I force myself to remain still, my expression unchanged. I reach for my clutch, take out my phone, and place it face down on the white linen tablecloth, positioning it carefully between the salt shaker and my wine glass. The black, reflective surface is a void, but I know the microphone is listening, capturing the clink of silverware, the murmur of other conversations, and the low, menacing tone of her voice. She sees the gesture. Her eyes narrow for a fraction of a second. She understands the implication. "You know," she says, her voice turning silky, almost pitying. "I saw the way you were favoring your face on Thursday night. Those little bruises. They fade. But more importantly, who would ever believe you? A troubled, emotional young woman with a history of family friction." She leans back, a picture of relaxed confidence. It's a sad story, but not a very credible one. Here it is, the heart of her strategy. She believes the physical evidence is meaningless. A he said, she said situation she is certain she can win. She has fundamentally miscalculated her risk. "The numbers, Lorraine," I say, my voice quiet but sharp as a shard of glass. "They'll believe the numbers." The silence that follows is absolute. The bustling restaurant noise seems to fade into a dull roar. Her smile finally vanishes completely, replaced by a look of pure, unadulterated fury. I have just confirmed her worst fear. I know. I don't just suspect. I know, and I have proof. The game has changed, and we both know it. She recovers quickly, the mask of corporate composure snapping back into place. "You're overwrought," she says, signaling for the check. "The pressure is getting to you. Take the weekend. Think about your future." The lunch is over. She signs the bill with a flourish, adding a generous tip. I see the detail on the receipt as the waiter takes it away. She's charged the entire meal to a corporate account code. Investor relations. Ashbridge, partners meeting. Another lie. Another piece of evidence. As we stand to leave, I discreetly pluck the customer copy of the receipt from the small black folder on the table and slip it into my pocket. Walking back to the office, the cold city air does little to cool the adrenaline coursing through me. My phone vibrates, a text from a number I don't recognize, but I know it's Sienna. "Mom was at your apartment, said she was dropping something off. She used her spare key." My blood runs cold. The threat is no longer contained. She is in my home. She is searching. My apartment is no longer safe. The pumpkin pies spreadsheet. My personal laptop. It's all there. But the most critical evidence, the complete server backup, is on the encrypted USB drive in my desk. I don't go back to the office. I walk past the building, my pace quickening. My mind, trained for this exact kind of scenario, kicks into high gear, threat assessment, asset protection, contingency planning. I find a bench in a small, crowded public park a few blocks away. My hands are shaking, but my actions are methodical. I pull out my laptop. First, I change every single password I have. Email, banking, social media, company network access. I enable two-factor authentication on everything. I am building a digital fortress, wall by wall. Next, the evidence. The USB drive in my desk is vulnerable. So is my apartment. I need a new location, a dead drop, anonymous, secure, and accessible only to me. I walk back toward the office building, but I stop at the small landscaped plaza out front. There's a series of large, square concrete planters filled with ornamental shrubs and dying autumn flowers. I look around. No one is paying attention. The lunchtime crowds are gone, replaced by the afternoon hustle. I retrieve the USB drive from my desk, my heart pounding as I walk through the nearly empty office. I slip it into a small plastic baggie from my purse. Then, I walk back out to the plaza. I choose a planter in the corner, one partially obscured by a bench. I kneel down, pretending to tie my shoe. My fingers dig into the cold, damp soil, pushing deep under the roots of a boxwood shrub. I push the small, plastic-wrapped drive into the earth, covering it carefully, It's safe, disconnected from me, from my home, from my office. An analog backup in a digital war. As I stand up and brush the dirt from my hands, I realize the truth. Lorraine thinks the battlefield is the boardroom. She thinks the weapon is a doctored report. But she's wrong. The battlefield is everywhere now. My home, my family, my past, my future, and the weapons are everything. A text message, a PKO box, a line item on a lunch receipt, a photograph of a bruise, a small piece of plastic and metal buried in the cold, dark earth. The weekend is a blur of hypervigilance and silent preparation. I don't go to my apartment. I don't go home. I check into a nondescript hotel across town, paying in cash. I live out of a suitcase, my world compressed to a laptop, a burner phone, and the encrypted drive that feels like a lead weight in my bag. Lorraine's move on my apartment was an escalation I anticipated, but the reality of it, the violation of my last private space, cements my resolve into something as hard and cold as diamond. On Monday morning, I execute the first stage of the counteroffensive. I don't use the office network or my own laptop. I go to a public library several neighborhoods away, a quiet, dusty place that smells of old paper and disinfectant, using their public access terminal. I connect to a VPN service I've already paid for, routing my connection through a server in Estonia. I create a new, anonymous email account. The name I choose is sterile, plausible. cfobserver@protonmail.com, Corporate Finance Observer. From this digital ghost, I compose a message to the generic address for Marrow & Finch's Investor Relations Department. The email is a masterpiece of polite, professional inquiry. It is also a precision-guided missile aimed directly at the cracks in Lorraine's facade. To whom it may concern. As an independent analyst monitoring mid-cap holdings, I am conducting a deep dive into Q3 operational efficiencies. Could you please provide clarification on the following points ahead of your next earnings call? 1. Can you provide a more granular breakdown of logistics and procurement costs, which appear to have risen disproportionately to gross revenue compared to the previous 8 quarters? 2. What is the driver behind the significant margin compression in your domestic manufacturing subsidiaries, and can this be reconciled with the reported decrease in raw material costs? 3. Can you confirm the asset class and depreciation schedules for capital expenditures listed under the Strategic Sourcing Initiative? The questions are technical, dry, and lethal. Each one is a direct challenge to the fictional numbers Lorraine ordered me to create. I hit send. The email disappears into the ether, a baited hook cast into the corporate ocean. It takes less than 3 hours for the fish to bite. Back at the office, a forward of my own email lands in my inbox, sent from the head of IR to Colton Wren, and CC'd to Lorraine and me. Colton, see below. We're getting some sharp questions from the analyst community. We should get ahead of this. 10 minutes later, another email arrives. This one is from Colton's executive assistant. Urgent meeting request. Ashbridge Partners. The body of the message explains that a senior partner at Ashbridge, a major institutional investor, has seen the CF Observer query circulating on an analyst forum and has requested an immediate clarification call with the CFO and the head of risk analytics. They want to be assured that the company's projections are sound. I stare at the name, Ashbridge Partners. It's Micah's invention, a perfectly crafted fiction, sounding just respectable and powerful enough to command the CEO's absolute attention. The ruse is working. I wait exactly 15 minutes, long enough to seem thoughtful, not impulsive, before I walk to Colton Wren's office. His door is open. He's on the phone, looking concerned. He waves me in. When he hangs up, he looks weary. You saw the email from Ashbridge? I nod. I did. That's why I'm here. I keep my voice steady, professional, the voice of a risk analyst, not a victim. Colton, in a situation like this, transparency is our only move. The numbers are complex. If the CFO presents a loan, it could look like we're just giving them the high-level polish. If I present the raw data, the risk models, it shows we have nothing to hide. It shows confidence. It stewards trust. Using his own motto against him is a calculated risk, but it works. His expression softens. That's a good thought, Ava, a very good thought. As if on cue, Lorraine appears in the doorway. I'll handle the call. Colton, there's no need to trouble Ava with it. It's just a matter of walking them through the top-line figures. Nonsense, Colton says, beaming at me. I think Ava's idea is brilliant, proactive. It shows a united front. You two can prepare a short deck together. Show them we're all on the same page. Lorraine is trapped. To argue further would be to admit she doesn't want her own risk analyst in the room. Her smile is a thin, brittle thing. Of course, whatever you think is best. Colton. Her eyes meet mine over his head. They are chips of ice. You will regret this, they say. Before I leave his office, I make one last move. On my own computer, I've already set it up. A custom hotkey combination, Ctrl+Shift+P, a sequence no one would ever hit by accident. It's linked to a single action. To open a browser window directly to a real-time, cloud-based dashboard of my pumpkin pies spreadsheet, my entire investigation, all the shadow accounts and damning connections, visualized in clean, corporate-looking charts and graphs, an emergency eject button. The rehearsal is that afternoon in a small, glass-walled conference room. It's just me, Lorraine, and the presentation on a massive 80-inch screen. The air is thick with unspoken animosity. We click through the slides I prepared. A sanitized, Lorraine-approved version of the quarterly results. When we get to a slide detailing third-party vendor expenses, she holds up a hand. Stop. This is too much detail. Ava, it's noise. It will only invite more questions. Her finger taps the wireless mouse. Click. The slide showing the abnormal spike in shipping costs, the ghost freight, disappears. Click. A slide breaking down contractor payments, where Claret Janitorial would be an outlier, is also deleted. She is pruning the evidence in real time, right in front of me. That's cleaner, she says, satisfied. A simple, powerful narrative. Looks like there's a formatting glitch, I say, feigning innocence as I take the mouse. It's created a blank slide here at the end. A single, empty white slide now sits at the back of the deck. I'll fix that. My fingers move quickly. I select the slide. Instead of deleting it, I open the hyperlink menu. I navigate to the screenshots I took of the server log, the log showing her username, LVAL, deleting my $17,413 bait from the draft report. I embed the link not in a visible line of text, but in the slide's background object itself. To the naked eye, it's a blank page, but a single click anywhere on its surface will open a web browser and display her digital signature on the crime itself. That evening, I'm packing my bag at the hotel when the burner phone vibrates. It's a text from Sienna. My blood freezes as I read it. Mom just called me. She sounded strange. She told me to go to your apartment tomorrow and clear everything out of that old utility box in your closet, the one with your old yearbooks. She said to throw it all out. Everything. The utility box. It's where I keep my old hard drives, photo backups, personal documents. It's where she thinks I would hide something. She's no longer just searching. She's ordering the destruction of potential evidence, and she's trying to make my own sister her accomplice. The planter outside the office is no longer safe. It's a clever hiding spot, but it's too public, too static. If she's this paranoid, she might have me followed. I need to move the USB one last time. I wait until after 10 p.m. The city has quieted down. I walk to the office building, my heart a frantic drum. I retrieve the cold, dirt-caked baggie from the planter. I slip back inside the deserted building. The gym is on the 3rd floor, accessible 24/7 with an employee key card. It's empty, smelling of rubber and disinfectant. I walk to the locker room. I have a small combination lock on locker 113, where I keep a spare pair of running shoes. I open it, place the USB drive inside a shoe, and snap the lock shut. It's as safe as it can be. She would need bolt cutters and a very public scene to get to it now. Back in my hotel room, my primary phone buzzes with an encrypted message from Micah. It's 2 words. They're confirmed. Ashbridge. Partners is officially on the CEO's calendar for 8 a.m. the next morning. The board members have been invited to listen in. The bait has been taken. The trap is set. The whole corrupt machine is now chugging obligingly towards the cliff I have built for it. The annual Marrow and Finch Gives Thanksgiving Gala is not about charity. It's about power. It's a theatrical production of corporate compassion, staged in the grand ballroom of the North Crest Pavilion. The room is bathed in a warm, honeyed light, designed to make everyone look benevolent and successful. Crystal glasses clink. A jazz trio plays something smooth and forgettable in the corner, and the air is thick with the scent of expensive perfume and catered canapes. On a massive screen behind the stage, the Marrow and Finch Gives logo is projected over a looping video of smiling children and grateful-looking families. It is the pinnacle of performative altruism. And tonight, its architect is my stepmother. From a shadowed alcove behind a pillar, I watch Lorraine take the stage. She's radiant in a sapphire silk gown that catches the light with every move. She looks like a queen addressing her adoring subjects. Colton Wren stands beside her, beaming like a proud father, his presence a silent, powerful endorsement of everything she is about to say. "Thank you. Colton," she begins, her voice amplified throughout the cavernous room, a perfect blend of warmth and authority. "Every year, as we gather to celebrate the spirit of Thanksgiving, we at Marrow and Finch are reminded of our most sacred duty, our duty to our community. It is a responsibility we take seriously. It is a trust we are proud to steward." The word hangs in the air, a grotesque parody of itself. Trust. I feel the phantom ache in my wrist, the skin still faintly discolored under my watch. My hands, clasped in front of me, are trembling slightly. I press my fingernails into my palms, the small, sharp pain a grounding force in the sea of hypocrisy. Lorraine continues, her speech a masterclass in corporate doublespeak. She talks about lifting up the less fortunate, about creating opportunities, about the moral imperative of giving back. She is magnificent, she is a fraud, and the entire room is captivated, hanging on her every word. My attention is drawn away from the stage to the smaller flanking screens that display a real-time tombola of donor contributions. Names and corporate logos scroll up in a garish digital waterfall, categorized by donation level. Bronze, silver, gold, platinum, it's a public stroking of private egos. I pull out my phone and open the official event app, which has a live, interactive version of the donor list. My finger scrolls through the names, a list of the city's corporate elite, and then I see it. My breath catches in my throat. It's right there, glowing with obscene prominence in the center of the screen, under the highest category. Platinum Partner, Northlake Procurement. It's bolder, more arrogant than I could have ever imagined. She didn't just use Northlake to embezzle funds. She used the stolen money to buy herself a platinum-level seat at the table of corporate sainthood, creating a public record of her crime and disguising it as an act of profound generosity. The round-tripping scheme, confirmed. The money laundered through the charity, now publicly celebrated. My hands are steady now. I navigate the app. I frame the screen perfectly. The Marrow and Finch Gives logo at the top, the scrolling list of donors, and the name, Northlake Procurement, front and center. The click of the screenshot is silent, but in my head, it sounds like a cell door slamming shut. It is the final, public piece of the puzzle, evidence not buried in a server log, but displayed in the golden light of her own gala. A small, hesitant touch on my arm makes me flinch. I turn, my heart leaping into my throat. It's Sienna. She looks like a ghost, her pale face lost in the shadows, her cocktail dress looking like a costume she's desperate to shed. Her eyes are huge and dark, swimming with a fear that is painful to witness. "Ava," she whispers, her voice barely audible over the jazz music. I'm so sorry." "Sienna, what are you doing here? You shouldn't have come to me." "I had to," she says, her hands twisting the strap of her small purse. "I'm scared of her, after she called me, about your things. I can't. Her voice breaks. She's a child caught in the gears of a machine she doesn't understand, built by her own mother. I feel a surge of something other than anger. It's a painful, protective pity. She is a victim in this, too, a different kind, but a victim nonetheless. I steer her deeper into the shadows, away from any curious eyes. Listen to me, Sienna, I say, my voice low and urgent. It's going to be okay, but I need you to be brave. Can you do that? She nods, tears welling in her eyes. I reach into my clutch and pull out a single, small key on a plain silver ring. It's the key to my gym locker. I'm going to give this to you, I say, pressing it into her cold, trembling hand and closing her fingers around it. Inside locker 113 at the company gym, there is a USB drive. If anything happens to me tonight or tomorrow, if I get fired, if I'm discredited, if I just disappear, I need you to take that drive to a reporter. A reporter? She breathes, her eyes wide with terror. Her name is Iris Cole. She's a local investigative journalist at the Graybridge Herald. Her contact information is on a sticky note attached to the drive. Don't email her. Don't call her. Go to her office in person. Give her the drive and tell her everything you know. Tell her about the phone call your mother made. Tell her what you saw in the garage on Thanksgiving. Will you do that for me? It's a terrible burden to place on her, but it's my only contingency, my last-ditch insurance policy. Sienna is my dead man's switch. She stares at the key in her palm as if it's a bomb. Then, she looks up at me, and a flicker of something new hardens her gaze, a sliver of her mother's resolve. Perhaps, but bent toward a different purpose. She gives a single, firm nod. Okay, she whispers. Okay, Ava. She slips the key into her purse and without another word, melts back into the crowd. I watch her go, then turn my attention back to the ballroom. The atmosphere has shifted. The jazz trio has finished, and an auctioneer is now on stage, his voice a fast, rhythmic patter. Lorraine is off the stage, holding court near the front, a glass of champagne in her hand. The mayor has joined her circle. They laugh at something she says, and she lifts her glass in a small, elegant toast. She is untouchable, the queen of the city, basking in the glow of her own manufactured virtue. It's time. I find an empty chair at a deserted table in the back of the room. I take out my phone. I open my drafts folder. The email is already written. It is simple, professional, and utterly innocuous. To DL Board of Directors at Marrow Finch. Com. From A. Kingsley at marrowfinch.com. Subject: Preparation, materials for 8 o'clock a.m. Ashbridge Partners Call. Body: all. Please find the presentation deck for tomorrow morning's investor call attached via the link below. I look forward to discussing it with you. Regards. Ava Kingsley, Head of Risk Analytics. The link points to the presentation on the company's secure server, the same presentation Lorraine personally edited, the same one with the invisible, clickable time bomb of a blank slide at the end. I don't hit send. I tap the scheduling option. I set the email to be delivered at 5 a.m. It will be the first thing they see when they wake up. It will land in their inboxes while the city is still dark and quiet, a silent harbinger of the storm to come. I confirm the scheduled time. The app gives a small, affirmative checkmark. It's done. The final domino has been pushed. It will fall in less than 10 hours. I stand up and walk to the bar. My steps even and measured. I order a club soda with lime. As the bartender hands it to me, I look across the glittering, oblivious crowd. My eyes find Lorraine. She is laughing, her head tilted back. The picture of effortless power and grace, a woman who believes she has won. I raise my glass in a silent, solitary toast, a ghost at the feast, drinking to the woman I am about to destroy. The conference room on the 27th floor is an observatory for predators, encased in floor-to-ceiling glass on 3 sides. It offers a godlike view of Graybridge as a delicate, early morning snow begins to drift down, dusting the city in a soft, silent layer of white. It's exactly 8 o'clock a.m. The long obsidian black table reflects the grim faces of the board members joining by video, their images arrayed like a digital jury on the massive screen at the far end of the room. Colton Wren sits at the head of the table, his face a mask of paternal concern. Lorraine is to his right, the picture of calm, formidable competence in a charcoal gray suit. I am to his left, my laptop open, my hands resting on the keyboard. Micah sits a few seats down, a silent, unassuming presence with a thin leather portfolio in front of him. The air in the room is hermetically sealed and humming with the low thrum of the building's climate control. "All right, everyone," Colton begins, his voice resonating with practiced authority. "Thank you for joining on short notice. We've had a query from Ashbridge Partners that we want to address head-on. It's a matter of transparency and reaffirming the market's confidence in our projections. Lorraine, Ava, the floor is yours." Lorraine gives a slight, confident nod. "Thank you. Colton, Ava has prepared a brief deck to walk us through the core metrics. We're confident it will clarify any and all questions." She looks at me. A flicker of something, a warning, a command in her eyes. "Stick to the script." I nod and share my screen. The presentation, the one she personally edited, appears on the main monitor. I begin to speak, my voice a calm, even-toned stream of corporate jargon. I talk about revenue streams, operational efficiencies, and year-over-year growth. I am the very model of a diligent risk analyst, presenting the sanitized numbers with detached professionalism. I click through the slides, the ones she approved. Out of the corner of my eye, I can see her relax, a subtle easing of the tension in her shoulders. She believes she is in control. She believes this is her show. I move through the data, my narration smooth and unhurried. I am leading them down a carefully constructed path, a garden of forking data points, and the final destination is a cliff. "Which brings us to our forward-looking statements," I say, my voice never wavering. But before we move on, it appears we have a formatting error in the deck. I navigate to the final slide. It appears on the massive screen, a stark, empty expanse of white, a void. "My apologies," I say, feigning slight embarrassment. "A ghost slide. Let me just click past it." I move the cursor to the center of the blank screen. Every eye in the room, both physical and digital, is on that small white arrow. Lorraine shifts in her seat, a flicker of annoyance on her face at my perceived incompetence. I press the mouse button. Click. The white void does not disappear. It is replaced. A web browser window instantly fills the screen, displaying a page I know intimately. It's the network server's audit log, a dry technical table of data columns, timestamp, user ID, IP address, action, file name. The content is dense, but one line is highlighted in a pale, clinical yellow. Timestamp, 184612, EST user ID, LVAL IP address, 1027.115, CFO admin office. Action, cell content. Deleted, 17,113. File, Q3 report draft, AVK, XLSX. A collective, sharp intake of breath is audible from the speakers. The board members lean closer to their cameras. Colton Wren squints at the screen, his folksy demeanor evaporating. What is this, Ava?" "It's the edit log for the draft report." "Colton," I say, my voice still level. "It shows the precise moment the final numbers were altered last night, from whose account and from which office." Before anyone can respond, there is a quiet, deliberate movement down the table. Micah Drew opens his portfolio, removes a single, bound document, and slides it onto the polished surface of the table in front of Colton. The cover page is simple. Marrow and Finch Holdings. Whistleblower policy and procedures. Several key paragraphs are marked with a neon yellow highlighter. Lorraine stares at the screen, her face ashen. The mask has cracked. "This is absurd," she says, her voice a low, dangerous hiss. A technical glitch. My account was clearly compromised. Was it compromised at lunch on Friday as well? I ask. I don't wait for an answer. I minimize the browser window. In its place, I open an audio file. The speakers, which moments before carried the disembodied voices of the board, now carry a single, chillingly clear voice, Lorraine's voice. Sign off on the final version of the report, and the job is yours. A pause in the recording, then, my own voice, quiet and even. And if I don't sign? Then Lorraine's again, the bourbon-smooth charm curdled into a threat. Family always comes before business, followed by the almost pitying, venomous line. Those little bruises, who would ever believe you? Colton Wren physically recoils, his chair scraping back an inch on the floor. He stares at Lorraine, his face a canvas of disbelief and dawning horror. The board members are a gallery of stone-faced statues. Lorraine finds her voice, and it is laced with steel. She laughs, a short, sharp, ugly sound. This is a pathetic, desperate act of slander. She's an unstable employee with a family grudge. You cannot possibly take this doctored-up drama seriously. You're right, I say. Personal matters have no place in this boardroom, so let's stick to the official record. I close the audio player. A new document fills the screen. It's a simple vendor summary page from our own accounting system. I highlight one name, Claret Janitorial Services. Claret Janitorial has been our executive floor cleaning contractor for 5 years, I state, my voice as dry as an auditor's report. Their billing is consistently 80% higher than the industry average. I was curious as to why. I click again. A new window opens beside the first. It's a screenshot from a public records database, showing the registration details for a P.O. box at a retail mail center downtown. The address on Claret Janitorial's invoices, I continue, is P.O. Box 7214. I move my cursor to the second window, which, according to public records, is registered to one Lorraine Vale for personal use. A low murmur ripples through the board members on the screen. Stealing millions through shell corporations is one thing. It's a crime of ambition. But overbilling for toilet paper and trash bags using a personal P.O. box is a crime of pure, greedy arrogance. It's a detail they can all understand. And finally, I say, my voice dropping, let's talk about where the real money went. The vendor list disappears. In its place is a bright, celebratory image. The screenshot I took at the gala. The Marrow and Finch Gives logo is at the top, and there, in the Platinum Partner category, glowing in digital gold, is the name. Northlake Procurement. Last night, I say, letting the image burn itself into their retinas, our charitable foundation publicly celebrated its largest single donor, a company that, according to my analysis, is a shell corporation incorporated by your former brother-in-law, Lorraine. A company that has billed Marrow and Finch for millions of dollars in non-existent ghost freight services. You didn't just steal from this company's shareholders. You stole from its soul, laundered the money through a charity, and then accepted an award for it. I stop talking. There is nothing more to say. The evidence is complete. A perfect, closed loop of digital, audio, and public proof. Silence. A profound, absolute silence descends upon the room. The only sound is the soft hiss of the heating vent near the floor, a quiet, insistent shush that sounds like the world holding its breath. The snow falls harder outside the glass walls, a thick, silent curtain drawing itself across the city. Every person in the room is frozen, trapped in the tableau of a crime laid bare. Lorraine's face is no longer a mask. It is a ruin. Her empire, built on lies and intimidation, has just been dismantled in the space of 5 minutes, not with a bang, but with a series of quiet, devastating clicks. The silence in the room stretches, thin and brittle. It is the sound of an entire corporation holding its breath, the sound of careers teetering on a precipice. Colton Wren stares at the screenshot of the North Lake donation, his face a ghastly shade of gray. The board members on screen are frozen, their expressions ranging from cold fury to calculated neutrality as they assess the fallout. In this vacuum, I expect Lorraine to crumble, to deny, to lash out. Instead, she does something far more terrifying. She regains her composure. A slow, chillingly calm smile spreads across her face. It is a smile of supreme confidence, of a player who has just revealed a hidden ace. She turns her chair slowly, not to the board or to Colton, but directly to me. "Oh, Ava," she says, her voice dripping with a condescending pity that makes my skin crawl. "My dear, ambitious Ava, you did so much work. You found all the little threads, but in your rush to build your little narrative, you forgot the most important rule of due diligence." She gestures to her own laptop. "You forgot to read the last page of the contract." With a few clicks, she shares her screen, overriding my own. A legal document fills the monitor. It's the original incorporation filing for the parent company of North Lake Procurement. She scrolls past the dense legalese, past the articles of incorporation, all the way down to the final signature page. And there it is, a name, cleanly typed and signed with a familiar, slightly shaky hand. Incorporator, Robert Kingsley. My father's name. The floor drops out from under me. A wave of nausea and disorientation washes over me. The board members on screen are now murmuring, their voices a confused buzz. Lorraine has just reframed the entire narrative. This is no longer a story of executive fraud. It's a messy, ugly family dispute. A daughter using corporate resources to attack her own father and stepmother. Colton Wren turns to me, his eyes grasping for this new, simpler explanation like a drowning man grasping for a raft. The complex, terrifying problem of a corrupt CFO has been replaced by the much more manageable problem of a family squabble. "Ava?" he asks, his voice laden with a new kind of suspicion. "Is this a personal conflict? Are you using this board as leverage in a family matter?" The emotional trap springs shut. He is offering me an out that is also a self-indictment. To agree is to be dismissed as hysterical. To deny is to seem delusional. My evidence, so carefully assembled, is now tainted, compromised by the one name I never expected to see. But this is the move I planned for, the attack I knew she would eventually launch. This is her check, now, for my checkmate. I take a slow, deep breath, letting the silence hang for a beat longer. "You're right, Lorraine," I say, my voice cutting through the murmurs, clear and cold as ice. I did read the last page, and I also read the hospital admission records from St. Catherine's Medical Center. I reach into the portfolio beside me and pull out a single-page document, which I place on the table in front of Colton. It is not a spreadsheet. It is not a screenshot. It is a durable power of attorney. This document grants you, Lorraine, full legal authority over my father's financial and legal affairs. I state, my voice narrating the evidence as if for a court record. It was signed on October 2nd of last year. I then slide a second piece of paper next to it. And this is the official admissions record from the hospital, showing that on October 2nd, at the precise time this power of attorney was notarized, Robert Kingsley was under general anesthesia for a triple bypass surgery. I looked directly at her. He couldn't have held a pen, let alone understood the document you had him sign. You forged his signature, using a medical crisis as cover to make him the legal face of your entire criminal enterprise. Lorraine's smile flickers. For the first time, a shadow of genuine shock crosses her face, but before she can speak, the door to the conference room opens quietly. It's Sienna. She isn't crying. She isn't trembling. Her face is pale, but her expression is resolute. She walks directly to the table, ignoring the stunned looks from Colton and the board. In her hand, she holds a single sheet of paper. "She sent this to me," Sienna says, her voice small but clear. She places the paper in front of Micah. It's a printout of an email from Lorraine, sent 2 nights ago. The subject line is simple: housekeeping. The body is a single sentence. Sienna, I need you to go to Ava's apartment tomorrow and throw out everything in that old utility box in her closet. Micah takes the email, and from his own portfolio, he slides a third document next to my two. It's a certified letter from St. Catherine's Medical Center's Records Department, which he must have subpoenaed as corporate counsel. This, Micah says, his voice devoid of emotion, is a confirmation from the hospital's chief of surgery. It certifies that Mr. Kingsley was incapacitated and in post-operative recovery for 72 hours following the procedure, and was on a regimen of powerful narcotics that precluded any legal or financial decision-making for a further 5 days. The trap is no longer mine, it is hers. The evidence is now an iron triangle: the forgery, the order to destroy evidence, and the third-party medical verification that makes her entire story impossible. With a strangled cry of rage, Lorraine lunges across the table and snatches the documents. The act is so sudden, so violent, it shatters the last remnants of corporate decorum. She grips the papers, her knuckles white, her face a contorted mask of fury. That's when I notice the two men standing silently by the conference room door. Corporate security. Colton must have summoned them when the audio recording played. They don't move. They just watch, waiting. Lorraine turns her venomous gaze back to me. You think you've won? You have nothing. I lean forward, my voice dropping to a near whisper, meant only for her. That's where you're wrong. I have everything. Do you remember Margaret, the head of accounts payable who took early retirement 3 years ago? The one you pushed out? Her niece has been working in the records department of our primary freight carrier for the last 4 years. She kept copies of every original, uninflated invoice from before Northlake ever existed. The real numbers have been safe all along. The color drains from her face. This last piece of information isn't for the board. It's for her. It's the final, devastating blow. The knowledge that my plan was deeper, older, and more patient than she could have ever imagined. The knowledge that she was being hunted long before she ever knew she was prey. She stumbles back a step, bumping into her chair. Her lips tremble. The papers slip from her grasp and flutter to the floor. For the first time since I was 17 years old, Lorraine Vale's smile is completely gone. Colton Wren rises slowly to his feet. His face aged a decade in the last 10 minutes. His voice, when he speaks, is cold, hard, and final. Lorraine, you are suspended, effective immediately. Your network access is terminated. Security will escort you from the building. Do not contact any employee of this company. We are done here. The security guards step forward, their movements quiet and efficient. Lorraine doesn't resist. She seems to have collapsed inward, all the sharp, dangerous energy gone, leaving behind a brittle, hollow shell. As they lead her past, her eyes meet mine one last time. They are not filled with hate, but with a terrifying, bottomless emptiness. The look of a monarch deposed, staring at a world she no longer recognizes. As the door clicks shut behind them, a new voice cuts through the stunned silence. It comes from the main screen, from the central video feed of a man in a book-lined office, Elias Vance, the board's lead independent counsel. His face is impassive, his voice the calm, dispassionate instrument of absolute authority. Mr. Wren, Vance says, his gaze fixed on Colton. This meeting is now a formal session of the board's Internal Affairs Committee. Pursuant to the company's bylaws, we are launching an immediate, comprehensive investigation. All materials presented today are now considered evidence. He then turns his digital gaze to me. Ms. Kingsley, you mentioned a server backup, codenamed Harvest 11. The committee requires immediate, untainted access to that data. This is the handover. The moment my personal battle becomes official corporate history, I could have Micah, my ally, vouch for it, but that's not clean enough. The transfer must be sterile, conducted under the lawyer's direct authority, severing it from any accusation of personal tampering. I reach into my portfolio and retrieve the USB drive, which I had collected from the gym locker before dawn. Mr. Vance? I say, holding it up. The drive is here. Mr. Drew, Vance instructs, his voice leaving no room for argument. As an officer of the legal department, you will please take possession of that drive. You will seal it in a tamper-proof evidence bag, sign and date it, and have it messengered directly to my office. You are now acting as a direct agent of this committee. Micah stands, his face grim. He walks over to me. I place the small, cold piece of plastic and metal in his outstretched hand. Our fingers don't touch. It's a formal, final transfer of the weapon I have spent months building. My part in the data war is over. The machine will handle it from here. As Micah returns to his seat to begin the bagging procedure, Sienna, who has been standing silently by the wall, takes a hesitant step forward. There's one more thing, she says, her voice trembling but clear. I think you need to see this. All eyes turn to her. She holds up her phone, her thumb hovering over the screen. On Thanksgiving, she says, looking at Colton. After dinner, I heard them in the garage. She taps the screen. She connects the phone to the room's presentation system. The massive monitor flickers to life, not with a spreadsheet, but with a shaky, poorly lit video. It's filmed through a crack in a door. A sliver of the cold, sterile garage. We see my back, and we see Lorraine's face, contorted with rage. The audio is terrifyingly clear. You have a problem with respecting authority. Ava, you always have. Then, the sound, not loud, but sharp, percussive, and sickeningly intimate. The sound of a hand striking a face. My head in the video snaps to the side. The camera jerks as Sienna flinches behind the door. The video ends. A wave of revulsion ripples through the room. Colton Wren turns his face away from the screen as if he's been struck himself, his eyes closing in a pained grimace. On the monitor, one of the board members, an older woman with a severe haircut, leans into her microphone, her voice a horrified whisper. We steward trust. The motto sounds like a curse. The hypocrisy of it hangs in the air, thick and suffocating. I look at Colton's averted face. And trust begins with numbers that don't hit back, I say, my voice quiet, but it carries in the dead silence of the room like a gunshot. The door to the conference room opens again. It's Lorraine, flanked by the security guards, a coat now draped over her shoulders. She must have forgotten something. Her eyes are wild, searching for one last move, one last play. You can't do this, she spits, her voice raw with desperation, looking at Colton, at the board, at anyone who will listen. This is a setup. No one will believe the word of a vindictive, unstable girl with a history of family issues over a senior executive. It's her final, pathetic gamble, to discredit the witness, to poison the well. I don't even look at her. I turn back to my laptop, my fingers moving calmly across the keyboard. I pull up one last file, an email, not an internal message, but a public one from the director of the Marrow and Finch Gives Foundation, sent to all major donors after the gala. I share my screen one last time. The email fills the monitor, a brightly colored message full of exclamation points and gratitude. I read the final paragraph aloud, my voice slow and deliberate, each word a hammer blow. And we offer a very special thank you for the generous platinum-level contribution from Northlake Procurement, a valued community partner brought to our attention through the passionate recommendation of our own CFO, Lorraine Vale. I stop reading, the public record, her own name, in her official capacity, directly linking her to the heart of the fraud. There is no defense against it. It is the period at the end of a very long, very damning sentence. Elias Vance's voice booms from the speakers, cold and final as a judge's gavel. That's enough. The committee's preliminary finding is unanimous. Ms. Vale's employment with Marrow and Finch is terminated. For cause, effective immediately. Furthermore, a copy of all evidence presented in this meeting, including the server data and witness testimony, will be handed over to the district attorney's office by noon today. Lorraine lets out a sound, a choked, guttural sob of disbelief. The fight is gone. The security guards take her arms. more firmly this time. Wait, I say. Every head turns to me. I stand up and look directly at Colton Wren. Not as a subordinate, but as an equal. I have one condition for my full and continued cooperation with the external investigation. He looks at me, his eyes tired and broken. Anything, Ava. Sienna, I say, gesturing to my half-sister who is watching, pale and wide-eyed. She is a material witness in a corporate and potentially criminal case. She was placed in an unconscionable position of duress by a senior executive. Marrow and Finch will provide her with independent, top-tier legal counsel, separate from the company's own, and you will establish a fund, administered by that counsel, for any therapeutic or counseling services she may require. This is not negotiable. For a long moment, Colton just stares at me. Then, he gives a single, slow, weary nod, an acceptance, a surrender. The security guards finally lead Lorraine out of the room. As the heavy glass door swings open, a blast of cold, clean air rushes into the stale, superheated atmosphere of the conference room. It swirls around us, chilling the sweat on my skin, feeling like the first breath after being underwater for a very, very long time. The fire is out. I don't wait to watch the aftermath. I don't need to see Colton Wren attempt to reassemble his authority or the board members engage in the frantic calculus of damage control. My work in that room is done. I turn and walk out, leaving the wreckage behind me for others to salvage. The heavy glass door closes with a soft, final whoosh, sealing the tomb of Lorraine's career. The hallway is silent and unnaturally bright after the tension of the conference room. I walk, not to my office, not to the elevator, but to the small corporate kitchenette on the 27th floor. My footsteps are the only sound. Inside, the stainless steel appliances gleam under the fluorescent lights. The air smells of stale coffee and microwave popcorn. It is a place of profound, mundane normalcy, and it's exactly what I need. I take a glass from a cabinet. It's heavy and cool in my hand. I fill it with filtered water from the refrigerator door. I watch the water swirl into the glass, clear and clean. I drink it all in one long, slow swallow. The cold liquid is a shock to my system, a physical cleansing. It tastes like nothing, which is to say, it tastes like freedom. I am rinsing the glass when my phone buzzes in my pocket. I pull it out. A single, unread message from Sienna. My thumb hovers over the notification. A knot of apprehension tightening in my chest. I tap the screen. The message is 2 words. I'm okay. Just 2 words. But they are heavier and more meaningful than any legal document I presented today. They are an anchor in the storm. They mean she is safe. They mean she is free. They mean the final piece of collateral damage from Lorraine's long war has been secured. I type back a single word. Good. There is nothing else that needs to be said between us right now. The healing will take time, but the wound is no longer being actively inflicted. Another buzz. This time, it's a company-wide email from Colton Wren. The subject line is stark. A message from the CEO. I open it. The text is brief, sanitized, and steeped in the language of corporate crisis management. It announces the immediate departure of Lorraine Vale to pursue other opportunities and the launch of a comprehensive internal review to reaffirm our commitment to the highest ethical standards. But the last sentence is what matters. It is a public capitulation, a quiet acknowledgement of the truth he was forced to see. Today, we reset our standards. We, not I, he is spreading the responsibility, but the message is clear. The old reign is over. I delete the email without a second thought. My work here is almost finished. I open my phone's voice memo app. I find the files, the recording of the lunch at the Anvil, the horrifying, damning audio from the garage on Thanksgiving. For a moment, I just look at the file names. They are digital scars, evidence of a battle fought in the shadows. My finger hovers over the first one. Then I select them all. I press the delete button. A confirmation window pops up. Are you sure you want to permanently delete these recordings? I press yes. They vanish. The official investigation has its own copies now. I no longer need to carry the weight of her voice in my pocket. I go to my photo gallery. I scroll past the screenshot of my bruised wrist, past the image of the gala donor screen. I delete them all, but I stop at one picture, the one I took just before we sat down for dinner on Thanksgiving. An artfully composed shot of the dining table, the pumpkin-colored tablecloth, the gleaming silverware, the perfectly roasted turkey sitting in the center, a picture of a perfect family, a perfect holiday, a perfect lie. I keep that one. A reminder of the battlefield, not to hold on to the fear, but to remember the victory. I finally take the elevator down. As the doors open into the grand, sterile lobby, I see Micah waiting for me by the steel turnstiles. He looks tired, but the perpetual anxiety in his eyes has been replaced by a quiet, profound respect. "It's done," he says. "Vance has the drive. The DA's office is being notified as we speak. They'll want a formal statement from you." I nod. "I know." He hesitates, then asks the question that has been hanging in the air. "The press will get wind of this by afternoon. It's going to be a firestorm. Do you want to talk to them? Do you want to be the face of this? I can connect you with Iris Cole. You can tell your side of the story." It's a tempting offer, the chance to be the hero, the whistleblower who brought down the giant, the chance to have my name celebrated instead of whispered. I think about it for a moment, about the interviews, the articles, the brief, fleeting fame. I shake my head. "No," I say, my voice firm. "No press." I look past him, through the massive glass walls of the lobby to the snow falling outside. "The numbers already told the story. That's all that matters." He nods, understanding. This was never about me. It was about the truth. I don't go back to my office. I don't go to my compromised apartment. I push through the revolving doors and step out into the cold. The snow is falling more heavily now. Thick, silent flakes that blanket the city in a pristine layer of white, muffling the sounds of traffic, hushing the world. I turn up the collar of my coat and put my hands in my pockets. My bare wrist no longer aching, the bruises already fading into a pale yellow memory. It's noon. I find myself walking across the main city plaza, a wide-open space that is now a sea of untouched snow. In the center of the square stands a small, historic stone church. As I walk, its bells begin to chime, a deep, resonant peal that marks the midday hour. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 12. I stop and look up at the old stone spire, at the snow clinging to the bell tower. People around me are hurrying to lunch, heads bowed against the cold. But I just stand there, breathing. I don't pray. I don't give thanks. I just feel the cold air on my face and listen to the final bell fade into the white silence. In the quiet of my own mind, a voice, a memory of a command, echoes one last time. "Say grace." I close my eyes, and a small, quiet thought forms, not in prayer, but in acknowledgement. A final entry in a long and difficult ledger. Done. The screen fades to black, the end. Thank you so much for listening to the story. I'd love to know where you're all listening from. So drop a comment below and let's connect and share our thoughts on Ava's journey. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video, and to help this story reach more people. Please support us by hitting the hype button. Your support means the world.